When you're on an airplane, there's a thing called plane etiquette, and it goes like this. Window gets an armrest and a wall. Middle gets 2 armrests. Aisle gets an armrest and a little bit of extra leg. We're not fucking animals, we live in a society.
Hey everyone. As you can tell, I am on the road again.
On the road again, like a bandit gypsies.
Tell me stole this.
We're the best of friends. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, coming to you from Emily and Kimmy's house because this is part of that big drive, the tool equipment coming up from the deep south. Gonna make my way to the tool offices, then back to Seattle, and then where the hell do I go? A locksmith show, and then speaking, and then a gun match. I'll be at Moonshine Brutality. Anybody coming out to the Moonshine Brutality? If you don't know what that is, Google it. Hope you can hear me okay. We got some boomer on a riding mower, like one lawn over. Gonna give that audio filter a workout on this one. We wash that through. If you're curious, by the way, if some people are like, dude, Dave, your production values sound great. I'm like, no, they don't. I'm terrible at all this. But Auphonic, I'll link it below. It is an open platform, and it does wonders with my audio most of the time. So all credit to their crazy algorithms. And it's funny, I mean, I'm mentioning the poor guy who's just trying to mow his lawn, which is kind of a theme for this video. It was a thought that I had when Tara and I were on a flight recently, which we always are. But it's the theme of like thinking that people are assholes when they're just doing normal people stuff, you know? Like when someone in front of you is slow at the grocery checkout line and you're like, what a jerk. And then you get in the grocery checkout line and someone's huffy with you. It's like, hey, stop being a jerk. You know, stuff we do on airplanes. This is what this is about. Stuff on airplanes and how I've coped with it and how I like to think is the right way to behave when I am up in the sky, which I spend tons of time up there, as you know. But I'm curious about your thoughts, honestly, on this one. We got 4 little kind of pointers or points of discussion or points of debate. And then we're going to end with a walkthrough of something that lives with me at all times when I'm flying. It's a little seat back pouch that always kind of, you'll see it. It's something that attaches to my travel backpack. Many of you saw that travel backpack video of mine I shot. I guess I was in England at the time. That backpack is always evolving. And one of the biggest things I've done is add a little breakaway pouch. It belonged to Kara long time ago. I got it from her. And this little black zipper pouch solves most of my problems when I'm on flights because it's right there in the seat back with me in the aircraft. So what are some problems that you can have on a flight? Well, some you can predict, regardless of who's sitting next to you, right? So needing a charger, needing components for your phones, have your headphones on you, have a phone stand if you want to, you don't have those little seat back phone mounts, which more and more aircraft have. I like that very much. But sometimes the problems you have on flights are with your fellow passengers. And I'm not talking about air rage and people being riotous assholes and getting dragged off the flight by marshals or something. I mean little things that people do or fail to consider to do that can impact my flight. Starting with, let's start with an easy pitch to hit, right? Can we all agree that if you're going to put your seat back, it is polite to look behind you and maybe even ask the person behind you if you can put your seat back? Now, the corollary on this one is that if somebody has the good sense and the kindness to turn around and ask you if they can put their seat back, the only acceptable answer is yes, in 90% of occasions. I understand, if you're on a laptop and you're gonna get crushed, which, by the way, this is the main reason that you ask first. You turn around and you check, right? It's not just because you're invading someone's space a little bit. It's because laptop screens, almost every 15-inch laptop now can get right under the tray notch. And I've seen screens get crushed when the way the seats, which is a bad seat design in my opinion. The best seat design ever that I loved. Have you ever been on, Lufthansa did this? I don't know if anybody but Star Alliance. When you want to put your seat back, it doesn't go back. You actually hit the control and your butt goes forward. Now, this has the same impact of oh, I'm leaning back, but I've taken away some of my space, not some of that person's space. I like that design. It's just common courtesy in my mind. If someone turns around and asks you, be polite, say, yeah, or you can, worst, I'm just finishing an email. Can I tap you in 10 minutes? If I'm forgetful. Tell me if I don't tell you in 10 minutes, I promise. But thank you so much for asking. Yes, I like to do that. I think we can all agree there. Where it's a little easier to agree, but maybe you'll disagree. Tell me down in the comments if you think I'm crazy. The overhead blowers, right? Opening your vents. And, if you're not familiar with why aircraft staff will say, please open your vents before getting off the plane, it's because when they're attached to ground power and they have the packs running, if you're in like the tarmac, or which isn't tarmac, it's on the apron, right? You don't say tarmac. All my pilot friends love me for pointing that out. When you're on the apron and you're just sitting around and the plane is sitting idle in a hot place, we had an office in Phoenix for years. We have an office in Vegas, of course. It helps to keep the plane cool. You have the vents open. They're trying to run the climate controls. In flight, however, there are usually 3 seats in most rows, unless you're rolling super deep up in the front, right? And there are usually 3 little blowers up top, which is meant for the window, middle, and aisle. If you are that hot or cold that you're turning them on and you're like stealing them from your neighbor, maybe we can ask about that first. If there is nobody in the seat between you, way to go. Give a little fist bump to the person next to you. They're like, all right, we got this extra space. You have a little, hey, do you mind if I point this one at me? Or you're like, boy, you have some really stinky farts. Can I point this one at you? I've done that, by the way, on planes. When somebody was like asleep and burping and farting, I just kind of turn their blowers on. Do you think that's rude of me? Are you getting into someone else's controls? This is where we get really into it, though, right? Illumination. I am a firm believer that on night flights, be a goddamn adult and spend your time looking at your phone if you can't sleep. I understand books are great. I have a billion books. I love books. I don't take paper books on a plane that much anymore, he says, even though there's probably one in the thumbnail of this video. But if you're going to read a book and it's nighttime, the overhead light is devastatingly bright. It is horribly bright. I am not a fan of people with their overhead, and I realize it's your light and I have my light. There's a lot of light pollution going on, or even worse, the situations when a really bright sunshine is outside, like it's right outside the window. You can't see anything. You're not looking out for the view. The death ball in the sky is blazing in. Put your shades down like a normal human being. And I just hate the fucking sun, so I realize Tara and I both do. Emily probably would love the sun. But yeah, like put your shades down. And if you're in that in-between daytime space, or whatever, the shades are up. And again, I have witnessed people reach over somebody and try to up and down the shade. Not like a loved one, just like a random stranger.
Oh, pardon me. Go right ahead and reach across me and open that window shade. There's something you want to see besides clouds from your aisle seat, jackass? Why don't you unbuckle my seatbelt, unzip my pants, and unstick my balls from my thighs since we're voluntarily doing shit we have no business doing?
I think we could agree that's wrong. Here's the interest. Now I've been giving you all the easy ones to guess at, and you're like, some of you are typing anyway, like, I agree on the internet with the opinion I already held. What about those in-between spaces where you could kind of maybe use, like maybe it was a daytime flight and it got to be a little dusky outside in the last 2 hours of the plane ride. It's a little dark and they're trying to read something and they're just finishing up. I was a professor next to me grading papers. I'm like, that's a thankless job. Do you ask, much like, hey, can I lean my seat back? Do you ask your neighbors, hey, do you mind if I have this light on? I'm just trying to finish this chapter. Or would you feel it's rude to ask a neighbor? I have done this and I got a look from some dude. I said, this was like 2 hours into the flight, and it was like a 10 p.m. nighttime flight going to Europe. I'm like, we're getting sleep. You should be in bed already. Take your Ambien and drink a white wine like everyone else is doing. I actually said to them, I said, I'm so sorry. I'm just curious. Do you anticipate you'll be needing that light for the full duration of the flight? I can look around for a sleep mask. I'm probably going to get some rest. I tried to say it really gently. And the guy was like, I might. He gave me the, but you know what he did in like 25 minutes from then? He turned the goddamn light off because he probably felt a little rude. He looked around and noticed he was the only one on the plane with it on. But how do you approach this? How do you handle these situations? I would love to know. Now you can get your keyboard commenting fingers really going. And then to, again, my dearest and beloved wise wife, when I tried to bounce this idea off of her, she looked at me, she's like, Dave, you're a problem solver. What do you have on you at all times that you believe in solving problems? You have videos about stuff to have with you to solve problems. She says, I know you've had an eye mask. What else do you have? And this is a fun one for me. On a plane, I said, you know what I would do? I wish that if I were on a plane, I would have a little book light. Like I'm getting on the plane with a book. I know I'm going to read paper like a caveman. I should think ahead to bring a book light. And she said, why don't you bring a book light you could offer to someone? And I went, oh, my jaw fell open. So book lights, as I remember them, had like big battery banks with like multiple C batteries. And we have evolved. We have 18650s and LiPos. And frankly, we have USB on most back seats of your planes now. Even though if there's no IFE, there's many times a little USB plug. I looked on Amazon and this is what I found. And I love it. I now have added this little snake light into my in-flight seatback kit. In fact, it was a multi-pack of them. And as you can see, thanks to the unpaid Chinese children who aren't getting bathroom breaks, these are stupid cheap. I have a pack of them, and I will lovingly give these away. If I was sitting next to that rude guy again, I probably would have been like, sir, actually, these are game changers. And I would show it him like, dude, I love using these. Would it interest you? Would you consider trying this out? Because I'm going to sleep. I love, and I give these to all my friends and family. If you want one, please. Maybe that's what I'll do from now on. So again, none of these are paid links. I'm going to link that below, but I'm going to walk you through, I keep mentioning this seat back kit, right? I'll walk you through what is in my kit at all times. And if you get any ideas and they help your flight out, great. If you think there's something I'm missing that I should have in my seat back kit, let me know. All right, I'm going to be back on the road tomorrow. So going to make the most I can of this trip here, going to make the most I can of all the other trips I've got coming up, and make the most I can of your comments down below. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you don't think I'm rude, crazy, or both. And wherever you are, on the sky, in the ground, or in between, travel well and stay safe out there.